Hi, welcome back. Hononegah, Honors Algebra 2. Section 3.4 is using the quadratic formula. Many of you know the quadratic formula. We're going to get into the quadratic formula in just a second. But some of you probably, how did they actually derive the quadratic formula? And in past, we've always done this on part of your test or quiz, so I don't know if we're going to do that anymore. But how do we make the quadratic formula? Ready? Well, just like when we did completing the square previously, you're going to get just the x terms, the x squared and the x. And remember, you don't like to have an a value, so I'm going to divide everything in this question by a. Now, how do I complete the square? I complete the square by taking half the linear term, so b over 2a squared, and add that to both sides. So I'm going to take half the b over a, so half of that squared. This makes your completed square. X plus b over 2a squared equals, and this would be, and I'm going to combine this makes b squared over 4a, and so then I'm going to multiply this by 4 to get a common denominator, which is b squared, sorry, and so b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. So I squared the b over 2a and got this, and then I got a common denominator, so I had to multiply this one by 4a, the first one by 4a. All right, take the square root of both sides. Remember, when you take the square root of both sides, you always get a plus or minus. Square root of the top makes b squared minus 4ac. Square root of the bottom is 2a. And so if I subtract b over 2a and write it as one fraction, I get negative b plus and minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a, which happens to be the quadratic formula. So solving this by completing the square is the quadratic formula. Now, you should memorize the quadratic formula, and I'm going to do the quadratic formula. You should know this by heart. X equals negative b plus and minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, there is such a thing as called a mnemonic device. How am I going to remember this? Well, there's a song. It's actually Pop Goes the Weasel. And so I'm going to do that quickly just as a mnemonic device for you to memorize the quadratic formula. So it goes x equals negative b plus and minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And so a, b, and c can be derived from a quadratic in standard form. So here we go. A is 3, b is 4, and I should have done a little work here. And c is negative 10. So you first have to make it equal 0. That is the first thing. So negative b plus and minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So now, what's called the discriminant, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow, is this portion of the quadratic formula. The stuff that's under the radical is known as the discriminant. So when I take 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times 10, I'm going to get 136. I'm going to double check myself there just in case I made a mistake doing it in my head. Nope, 136. So now, what is the square root of 136? It's a decimal, so now I need to simplify. 2 times 68, 2 times 34, 2 times 17. So there's a pair of 2's. So I end up with 4 plus and minus 2, square root of 34, all over 6. One more thing. If I can divide every term in the question by the same number, I can simplify. So since all of them are divisible by 2, the correct answer is 2 plus and minus square root of 34. Notice that I did not divide inside the radical over 3, and that is the answer using the quadratic formula. Again, you need to make it equal 0 first. So I'm going to add 13, and I'm going to add 16. So now, A is 4, B is 16, and C is 16. So negative b plus and minus the square root. B squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Now, again, the hard part about this is what's known as the discriminant, the stuff under the radical. However, in this case, you're going to end up getting 0 under the radical. So the plus 0 and minus 0 just leaves you with one answer. So now, thinking about this graphically, you're talking about a situation with a graphing calculator. You could type this in to the y equals function, and you would see this particular graph touch the y-axis at -2. Last one, I'm going to let this equal 0. A is 5, B is 2, and C is 1. So negative b plus and minus the square root, b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Again, the hard part about this is what's known as the discriminant, the stuff under the radical. So 2 squared minus 4 times 5 times 1 is -16. Well, wait a minute. Negative with a square root is an I. So I end up with 4i. And then all of these are divisible by 2. So -1 plus and minus 2i over 5 is the correct answer. Your homework assignment is out of the book. If you have any questions about the quadratic formula, by all means, ask your teacher, and good luck.